welcome in. Today, I've got Mary Eckenrode, the fun baker, here with me from Cheryl's Cookies. How are you, Mary?
Hi, Jimmy. It's so nice to see you.
Oh, I'm so excited to see you in person after not seeing you for so long.
I know.
Well,
I know.
thanks for joining today to be my very first podcast guest to join from a different city in Ohio. So I appreciate you working, and look, you're all set up and you've got headphones and a microphone, and we should do a show together, and we'll interview
I think so. That would be fun, wouldn't it? That's a little scary.
That's right. So, all right. So kind of let me give you a little bit of background about the podcast. So I've had this idea for a couple of years where I interview somebody, whether it's a friend, someone that I know, someone that I don't know, over a meal, because I think the best way to get to know somebody is sit down and have a meal with them. And so we have an appetizer section where we kind of get to know you. Then we have a main course where I say we get into the meat of it. And then the dessert section, which we have a special surprise for the dessert section today, where I do some rapid fire questions that are easy. The first thing that pops in your mind. So that's kind of how it works. And the first thing I do is I kind of go through and introduce everybody to you who's listening and kind of give you your bio, your background. Is that good?
That's good.
Okay, don't blush.
Okay.
I get to brag on you for a few minutes. So, just for all the listeners at home, the first thing I do before I have a guest on is I get them to send me some information like a bio or some accolades or whatever. And so I'm going to read to you what Mary sent back to me. So then it put more work on me, which is fine. It says, I really don't have a lot of huge accolades, but what I'm most proud of is my boys. They've grown up to be these awesome, wonderful, amazing husbands and dads, which I thought's amazing because I know that you're all about your family. I know a lot of your family. And I know that's great. So I'm going to brag on you with what I know and what some other people have said. First of all, you've worked at Cheryl's Cookies for 21 years. Your actual title is Fun Baker.
Exactly.
Which I love. You're the only person that has that title, I think. You have been on QVC since 2008.
Right. Yeah.
All right. You set up motivational and incentive programs for your employees. You have a big involvement with Buckeye Cruise for Cancer, which has raised millions of dollars. You've had a part in the Komen Race for the Cure for breast cancer. You work with and volunteer with Lifeline for Ohio, which is organ donation. You're involved in the community deeply. 4th of July parade, the Rotary Club, Rainbow Walk, which raises money for child abuse. And you have you've done so many things for the community and people in general all around you. Meals on Wheels, Honor Flight. You sponsor a flight, you donate cookies to all the veterans on the trip to Washington. The Columbus Boo at the zoo, raise money for the animals at the zoo. Mary, that's not a couple of accolades and more than your children. But this is what I really wanted to do for you, because first of all, you deserve it. And I think you'll enjoy it. So I reached out to a few people and I said, hey, I want to give me a story, give me a quote, something on Mary Eckenrode. That's basically all I said. Okay. I'm gonna read them to you.
This is a little scary.
Can't be scary if it's all right. And again, just to kind of give the listeners an idea of who you are. Mary is always so cheerful and full of joy. It's impossible not to smile when working with her. She is a total delight. That's from David Venable.
Oh my gosh. Oh, my buddy.
Working with Mary the Fun Baker, in quotes, means you'll You'll never not be greeted with the biggest smile, the warmest vibes, and the friendliest attitude. Truly, it's like this is what it says. Truly, it's almost like meeting a unicorn dressed in a rainbow every day when you get to see Mary at work. She's a one of a kind, and the reason I have hope left in positive, caring humanity on this planet. She's good people inside and out. Mark Charles Masilli.
You're going to make me cry, Jimmy Stovall. Oh my gosh.
Mary is a kind, genuine, sweetest gal I know. No wonder all of America buys sweets from her. I'll never forget when she surprised me on air after returning to the queue after her retirement, jaw dropped, tears in eyes, so happy and overjoyed that my friend was back. You can't buy that kind of love and friendship. Alberti Popage.
Oh my gosh.
Is it good?
I'm a little overwhelmed here.
Hold on.
What in the world?
All right. Working with Mary is delightful. She's filled with warm smiles and always has fresh cookies. I'm not kidding. She always, in bold, has cookies. We frequently tried to get together when she was in town. And one time in October, when Kaylee and Desmond were young, maybe 4 and 6, we all met at a restaurant. She brought out a suitcase that had 2 cardboard haunted houses filled with cookies and treats for them. Clearly, they lost their minds. That was the first time they had met her. Mary's generosity and kindness never ceases to amaze me. The kids played with those cardboard haunted houses for years, by the way. Sharon Fate, UBC host with us that did food. Amazing. All right, couple more. Well, I love Mary. She goes, well, I love Mary. And she can change my whole mood if I'm having a bad day whenever she gives me a call just to catch up. I always say she's like the mayor of the green room, which I have to agree. Whenever we have a new guest on air, which can be nerve-wracking, we always count on Mary to make them feel welcome and take them under her wing. Everyone loves Mary. Tell her I said hi and I miss her. Mamie Rope. She was our old food buyer in our category at QVC.
Yeah.
Mary is the queen of QVC foodie family. She is our QVC cheerleader, our social photographer, our ultimate role model as an on-air guest. From the time she and I met at QVC, we became family. She's my mom, my sister, my BFF when I'm at QVC. A little known fact about her is that she's also the best bargain hunter I've ever known. If there's a deal, she will find it. But being the selfless person she is, she never buys for herself. It's always for her grandkids and her children and friends. She embodies kindness, gratitude, and grace. I will always look up to her, and I treasure the laughs, the cries, the lunches, the dinners, the late nights and early mornings at QVC, the conversations, the road trips, and all the fun memories I have with her. Oh, my lands, I miss her. Lauren Edmonds with St. Clair.
Jimmy Stovall, I'm telling you.
Mary might be the nicest person I've ever met. I don't think she's ever met a stranger. Her beautiful smile, her kind heart touches everyone she meets. I loved working with her, tasting her yummy cookies with her, and most of all, just being around her. She's sweeter than any frosting. Jill Bauer.
Even my buttercream frosting.
All right. And the last one here, Mary's the sweetest woman to ever walk the earth. It's beyond iconic that she represents a cookie company. Randomly distributes cookies to strangers. It's so her. In all seriousness, I met Mary about 10 years ago, and she's been a ray of sunshine in my life. There is a glass is half full outlook, and then Mary's outlook is, which the glass itself is a precious gift, empty or full, you got a glass. And then to make me smile, I adore her, Christina Pennypacker at QVC. How's that for an intro?
Jimmy, and those are some of my besties.
This is what you said.
Oh my gosh.
I have many accolades. So I think you do, Mary. So that just kind of gives a well-rounded idea of what people think of Mary, and she's been amazing and a great friend to me as well. So, all right, this is how we kind of start. We say, let's roll up our sleeves and get into it. So we'll start with an appetizer. Mine just kind of stuck in here on my desk. So this is what so again, we always do this over a meal because I think the best way to have a conversation is over a meal. So I sent you our Corky's drumsticks, our seasoned roasted drumsticks. that we have at QVC, and that's going to be our appetizer today. I know you've had them before. That's what we're kind of start off with. So let's just kind of, get into it. Do you always start with an appetizer if you're going out to eat or you're eating or you're serving your family? And I'm going to dig in while you're.
Oh yeah. When our kids come over, we have a little bit of everything, especially the grandkids. And this is so funny, Jimmy, that you sent me these, because we had these in the freezer, and a couple of weeks ago, the kids came over and the grandkids, and we put these and they were gone like crazy. I don't know what sauce you're using, but I use like blue cheese.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
Here is that ranch.
Yum.
Barbecue sauce mixed together. It's just half ranch, half barbecue sauce.
Oh, that sounds good.
Like
I'm gonna get to try that.
Ranch. Yeah, it's really good.
Is it? Yeah. I mean, so good. But yeah, I mean, Corky's, I love the rub you put on it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's so, and you know what? I always watch you. I have to tell you, you're so darn cute when you're on air. And when you do it, you're like, look how big these are and stuff. And you know what? You're right. And I was baking them today. I put them in the oven.
Yeah.
So they'd be ready for our podcast. And my son's here and Tom's here, my husband, and they're like, this smells so good. I said, I know, you can't eat any. I need them for the podcast.
Eating them. Well, I love that you said that, because it just kind of takes me back too. And I always say on air at QVC that barbecue to me is all about friends and family and getting people together. And I think that when I can, if we ship it across the country and you get to have that experience at home, you get that great aroma. And to me, that's kind of the surprise. It's like, oh my gosh, the smell of this reminds me of, summertime or springtime and people coming over to get together, whether it's just you or, or just your family. So I am glad you said that, because it does. When you heat it up, it smells amazing, like our pits here.
And you can take credit for it. You can go, oh yeah, I just whipped this up.
Let's whip these up. All right, so dig in. I'm gonna ask a couple questions. So
okay.
What people might not know, you can wipe your tears, all the sappy.
Oh, I know. It was like, I know, I'm sorry. That was like a little overwhelming. Can I just say?
In fact, when I told Lauren Edmonds that I was doing that and collecting stuff, she goes, oh, Mary's gonna bawl crying.
I know.
And I know that you're not a big drinker, but you do have a drink every now and then, usually just one. And is it whiskey sour or amaretto sour?
Whiskey sour.
Lauren got it. I said amaretto. Lauren said, no, it's a whiskey sour.
It is. Well, you know what? Many a times, and you should know it's a whiskey sour, because many times you and Lauren and I would sit at the bar at the hotel and just talk QVC and chew the fat and talk about family and everything.
No. And again, we're doing it over food, we're doing it over drink, and that's the whole reason behind this podcast. I think it relaxes people, and you have something in front of you, you can take a bite and keep talking, and it's just easy. And that's really where this whole idea came from for Ribbin with Jimmy. So with that said, I'll kind of tell everyone. So at QVC, where we both appear, Mary and I, for our different products, it's truly, we're friends. Like it's not just Mary and I are never on TV together, but we're there at the same time. We're in the green room, and most of us stay at the same hotel right near there, because we come from different parts of the country. And so we end up eating and sharing a lot of meals together.
Exactly.
We do. And even though I hide in my room and don't come down or don't go out too much, I definitely meet y'all at the hotel bar and eat there. So tell me what your go-to meal is at the Sheraton where we stay.
Okay, let me see. Oh, well, you know what? There are a lot of them, but I like those giant pretzels they had. Sometimes I eat that for dinner. A lot of times I would get the chicken breast. Mm-hmm. That they remember when we had vegetables, when we were like, okay, we ate half of our food at the studio or picked on everybody else's and stuff after they got off in there. So you're like, okay, I need to go back and eat something healthy.
That's
But
right.
you know what? You made a point, Jimmy, us being in the green room
Yeah.
and hanging out together. I mean, I felt like, and I still do, even though, we're not all together, we became like a family. I
Absolutely.
mean, the foodies are just like, they're so close. And different people on social media ask me that. Or, are
Yeah.
you guys as close as you seem? And I'm like, oh, yeah, we're really close. We spent hours together,
Yeah.
laughing, crying, talking about family. I mean,
Right.
the hosts are totally rocking awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, we have awesome buyers and production crew. Oh, remember when it would snow and everyone came to the hotel?
Yes. So this hotel that we stay at QVC is only about, I mean, gosh, what, maybe 3 or 4 minutes from the QVC studios. And so up in Pennsylvania, when big snow comes in, usually once a year or so, they put the hosts up, the production crew, all the people that work for the QVC they put them up at the hotel so they're close and they can get back and forth because it's live 24 hours a day. And that's even great because then we all know the hosts and we have a great time with them and we're friends with them as well. But then spending time with them outside of of the studio is great. It's you're right. That's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
So you told me, you said you have 3 families. You've got your family, your Cheryl's family, and your QVC family. It's really interesting because I feel the exact same way. I've been at QVC for 20 years, been going to QVC for 20 years. And I spend, sometimes 50 to 75 days a year there. And so, yes, my friends, my family, those are people I work around every day. And then, come back home and I have my Corky's family and then my own family. So I totally agree with that. It's a very, I don't think people would realize that, but we do spend, like you said, a lot of time together.
We do, we might be on like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 8 minutes or whatever, but the time we come to the green room, because we have to come early, we would, and talk to the host. And then you hang out together in the green room and you talk. And then if you're the last in the show, you're there from an hour before the show, the 3 hours. And then if you're the last one, and if you have kind friends like you, Jimmy, and Lauren, and I can name a slew of others that would stay. If you were the last item, someone would stay in the green room and you say you wouldn't be by yourself.
That's right. Yeah. Everyone says, when are you leaving? Are you leaving right after your show? You're staying.
Yeah. Are you staying and hanging out with me because I'm last in the show? But it was so much fun. I think that's when we really got to, everyone got to know each other too.
That's right. That's right.
You would hang out and then talk about, everything.
That's right.
Kids, everything you do, you got to know each other really good. And you were there for each other. Like, what are you doing for dinner? Oh, you're going to eat at the hotel. Oh, you're going out. Oh, okay. Right. And we'd end up we started with 2 or 3 and ended up with 12,
Exactly. And that is it, because we are friends, and yes, we all sell food and we all represent food companies, but we're also friends from the people with the different categories, the kitchen category and electronics, and I know you're friends with a lot of the beauty category.
I need a lot of help. That's why I'm friends with you.
That's great. So, all right. So tell everybody, married to Tom for how long?
Tom and I've been married for 30 years.
And how many? Congratulations.
And y'all
have how many kids?
We have a blended family, and so we have 4 boys, 4 awesome daughter-in-laws, and 9 grandkids.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun.
And then you have a bigger family too, right?
I do. I have 5 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
And so I have a truckload of nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews. I mean, it's when we get together, there's about 40 some of us that get together for just our immediate family. So it's pretty crazy.
And so do you always bring cookies?
Yes.
Yeah. You always.
And I have to tell you, I not because I'm on with you, Jimmy Stovall, but I bring Corky's a lot. Because they love barbecue. And I mean, it's good. I
But
mean, it
yeah.
is really good. And easy.
Thank you.
You know?
And so let me tell you, this is funny. So for anybody listening, when I'm on air, and I come off of my cell, or my cell wraps up and right afterwards, I would say 50% of the time I have a text on my phone, and it's from Mary, and she has sent me a picture of me and the host on TV, or she has said, "Oh my gosh, I just ordered this. I ordered your wings, or I ordered your ribs." And I always can count on it. It's great because I save those pictures on my phone, because once you're off, it's done. So but I get those texts Mary sends, and Mary's always watching. She knows who the host. She's the go-to. So she is the go-to. She knows. Half the time I don't know what time I'm on. Sometimes I can't remember what I'm selling that day, or I don't know what sauce it is until I get in there, find it. And Mary knows when I'm on next week. She knows who everyone else is on, what time, where they are in the show, what items they have. She's the go-to.
Hey, and I did tell you what color shirt to wear one time.
You did blue.
I have to say,
Look, I have a blue one on. And I'm going to tell you, to this day, and again, if you think I've been up 20 years, I mean, I've been on 1,000 times probably. Every time I put a different color shirt on, I think in my head, well, Mary would tell me to wear blue check or blue. It makes my eyes look good. And so, but I do. It's still in my head today. Because I wore orange one, or sometimes I wear green, and I'm like, Mary would want me to wear blue.
It's my favorite color. Can you tell?
Yeah. All right. So, some of your hobbies: traveling, gardening, getting together, grandkids, sports game. What sports the grandkids play?
Well, right now we have out of the 9-6 are playing sports.
Wow.
Yeah, we have lacrosse, we have baseball, softball, soccer, and basketball. They're all on different teams, some indoors, some outdoors, some traveling. So we could go to probably 2 or 3 games every day. We actually have a lacrosse game tonight.
And I'll bet you that every parent of all the kids that are playing, they know you. They know you. You know them, because you somehow meet and know every single person. You and I can walk in the same room and never been there before. In 10 minutes, Mary will come grab me and go, "Oh, have you met this person? Have you met this person yet? This person, they've done this, they do this." And I'm like, "Mary, how did you even meet these people so far?" That is definitely a talent and a skill that you have, and it's awesome. And it's very genuine too.
Oh, thanks, Jimmy. I have to tell you something about you. When I first started in 2008, my very first show, you and Lauren were both in the green room. And I was like a nervous wreck. And I'm like pacing, and I'm like, "Oh, hi" to you. And you're like, "Hi." And you're like, "Oh, I'm Jimmy. I have Corky's barbecue." And Lauren introduced herself. And I think it was Jen Kovich. And you guys were all we were talking. And then you came up to me on the side and said, "Don't worry about it. Just go on, be yourself. You have these yummy cookies," or whatever, I don't know the exact word. Yes. And we were talking, and I was like, what a nice guy. So in my phone, I put Jimmy's from Corky's, really nice Southern accent. That's what I put in my phone. So I would remember who you are. That's how I related people. So I would remember people's names. I would be like, pick something out about them. Or they have like Ray Rastelli.
Yeah.
I would always talk, and Ray and I are good friends, as you know, too. And he has like all these grandkids. So when I first met Ray, I put Ray Rastelli, me, lots of grandkids, or something like that. So I would remember.
That is so awesome. And I'm so glad that I did that, because I don't feel that first of all, you've kind of taken that role over. You introduced all the new people, you take them under your wing, and that's great. But I'm glad that I did that when you first came, because when I first started in going to QVC, it was Ron and Margie Kaufman, and they were the king and queen. They were the mom and dad of the green room, and they met never met a stranger. They greeted everyone, introduced everybody, and it was always awesome. That stuck with me. So I did try to do that, but now you've taken that over, so I don't have to do that anymore.
You still do that. You know,
right.
talk about having a smile on your face. You always have a smile on your face. You're always so kind. You're always so generous, and you're always out there willing to help someone, whether they're new or a veteran. It doesn't matter. I think that's what makes all the foodies and you particularly so special.
Well, I appreciate that. Because I took it straight from Ron and Margie, and because I was always blown away that it could be a competitor, it could be, you know, somebody that know, and they welcomed them in, because when you first go there, I mean, it's a huge place. It's an enormous business, and it's huge. Quite frightening. Yeah. And so I always remembered that. So thank you for saying that. That's really nice. Okay, so I'm going to tell some people who are listening, especially the QVC people who would have no idea of this. I don't think, because I've never heard it, but you were, and I'm not laughing, but kind of, you were a model for Sears when you were 10 years old. Y'all lived in Chicago, and your dad was a buyer there. And you got to keep the clothes that you modeled from Sears. So tell me.
Okay, well, so my sister that's a year younger than me, my dad worked for Sears, and so he was a national buyer for them. And so we were in Chicago, and he was a national buyer for like this ski clothes, you know, and jackets and everything. So my dad did some modeling himself, and then they said, would one or two of your girls like to do that? And they said, in payment, we will give them all the clothes. And my mom and dad had 6 kids, so they were like, that's awesome. So I got like the ski jacket before it came out, like the year before. I mean, it was fun. I didn't really share that. I mean, I shared that with you, but I haven't told too many people. But my sister and I laugh about it now because we were in the Sears catalog, you know.
Mary, that was where you shopped. I mean, the Sears catalog was way ahead of its time. It's like, you know, QVC or Amazon now. It's where you get to pick things out. I mean, for Christmas, I couldn't wait to get the Sears catalog because
I know.
It's so nostalgic to me, because I would circle all these things. And I remember my granddaddy or my parents would even go, you know, you can't, how many things are you going to circle? You circled everything in the I want the racetracks and the cars. I want it all. And when I saw that you put that, you were model, I loved it.
Wouldn't you love to have one of those catalogs though, just to kind of look through now? Would that be fun?
Yeah, see the prices and what it was.
Oh yeah. Well,
okay, so tell me. Okay, so then, and then we'll kind of move to the meetup. But when you were in high school or after high school, what'd you do after high school? What kind of license did you get?
Oh my gosh, have you been talking to somebody? Okay, so after high school, before I went to college, I wanted to, since we had 6 kids in our family, you know, my mom and dad, we were trying to figure out, okay, how do you pay for college? And so I got my cosmetology license, and I cut hair for
Mary,
years.
I never knew this. Ever. I didn't know. And hopefully Lauren didn't know if she's listening.
I don't think she knew either.
I didn't know that we could go get a haircut while we were at QVC, because there's a lot of times that I could have needed a haircut.
I'll tell you, during COVID, that came in handy.
I bet it did. So you cut hair?
I do. Well, I don't anymore. I mean, I'll do it once in a while. Like my husband, I'll cut, and like my brother-in-law. Yes, I did.
For college?
Yeah. And like I had my license for a few years. I kept it up.
Yeah.
Thinking, maybe that'd be a backup plan, but you know.
Well,
I still have my scissors though. My original scissors.
Do you really?
Cheers. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I think you found your calling, but I loved finding out that you were a model in the Sears catalog and that you got your cosmetology license. You used to cut hair for money in college.
whatever it takes, Jimmy.
Right, that's right. All right, so that's a little getting to know you. So now I say let's get into the meat of it for the main course. I sent you some pulled pork, and I've got this almond. I mean, the same right here. Look, I have a barbecue sandwich from the restaurant. And of course, we serve it with coleslaw on top. That's how we do it here. But
look at mine, coleslaw, buddy, right on top.
Look at that! Look at
I
that!
made some this morning. Baked beans, Lauren's mac and cheese. I mean.
And so, is that how you would serve it? Like if you're heating that up, for
yeah.
your family and friends, like where you live? What city in Ohio do you live?
I live in New Albany.
New Albany, which is near
Columbus.
Near Columbus,
near Columbus.
And so, is that chili country? Like, is that good?
Chili. Yeah.
What's Columbus known for? The food.
Chili. We're known for good restaurants. We have some really good restaurants.
That's good.
Yeah, good Italian restaurants.
But barbecue?
Yeah.
Barbecue?
No.
Where do you get the barbecue?
There's one little place. It doesn't compare. Why do you think I buy it on QVC from Corky, Jimmy?
So funny.
I mean, seriously, you know what I love about your pulled pork? Like I put it on a bun today, but a lot of times I just eat it without a bun and just put some coleslaw on top.
Yeah, as the meat.
Without and and our kids love it, and our grandkids. And so we add the mac and cheese and we're good to go. And it's so easy. That's what I love.
Well, that's
I love easy.
Yeah.
When you have everybody over, you don't want to be in the kitchen all day cooking. You want to enjoy them. So
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna ask you a question and then think about it. So I asked this to everybody I have on my podcast because again, I think food brings back memories, aromas. Like if I smell fresh baked bread, I know exactly where I was when I was a kid going by the bread bakery here. And what was your favorite home cooked meal when you were growing up that either your mom or your grandmother made?
Oh, you know what? I think I have several from my mom because my grandma wasn't a cook. Sorry, Grandma, but my mom, she made everything from scratch, and she had like homemade soup. Her homemade soup was like vegetable soup was amazing. She made barbecue chicken, and it was pretty good. And oh gosh, she had so many roast beef and mashed potatoes.
I love
it. Was all like hearty meals. Yeah, mashed potatoes.
And so when I say that to you, you can almost picture the kitchen, the aroma. You can smell the aromas in the house from when you can.
Yeah, you can. It brings back a lot of great memories.
Yeah, I met your sweet mom, and your dad. You're sweet.
I know. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So do you ever make anything that your mom used to make?
I make her vegetable soup and I make her roast and mashed potatoes. Yeah.
So I roast and mashed potatoes. I love meat and potatoes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Soup, I don't know, Mary. Like, I'm the one that says I don't think soup's a meal. Soup is.
But she would make homemade dumplings, which I do. And I perfected finally, and she put her dumplings in her vegetable soup. I'm saying it's really good. I'll make you some sometime.
It was a meal, not just.
It was a meal. Yeah, it wasn't just like a bowl of soup with a few vegetables. It was like everything but the kitchen sink.
Oh, well, that's
plus dumplings.
Sounds good. I do love dumplings. So you make your dumplings,
right? I make my mom's. Yeah.
Wow, that is awesome. And you remember when you're making them, do you remember her showing you how to do it? Did you help do it? Like, how did you learn to do it?
I did, but like maybe your mom did this too, Jimmy, or your grandma, but they'd say, oh yeah, well, I put a little of this and a little of that. And they never really measured it out. Yep. And I was like, how do you do that? So that's what I did, a little bit of this and a little bit of that until I perfected. I had some really not so good dumplings a couple times, but I perfected it now, so they're good. I'm good to go.
That's good. And so I'm assuming your kids and when you make that, or Tom eats some of that soup with those dumplings, they know that, their grandmother or mother-in-law that used to make that too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think that is so powerful. It's a way, it just kind of leaves your legacy there. Even if it's one piece of a meal, like the dumplings of the soup that your mom used to make those, or your grandmother, whatever, and then you still do it. And I'll bet you that somebody in your family will make those as well, or they'll attempt to make them, and somebody will say, "Well, they're not as good. They're not."
I have to tell you a funny story. After my mom passed away, we had my dad over for dinner, and he loved her kale. I don't know if you've ever had it, and you really had to cook kale down. And then he liked ham in it and potatoes. And so I thought, I'm going to make this meal for my dad, and he's eating it. And after he ate, he's on his second bowl, and I'm like, well, Dad, does it taste just like Mom's? And he goes, well, the potatoes could have been done a little more, but other than that, I don't think he wanted to say it tasted exactly,
He couldn't give it all. He couldn't give all.
Yeah.
It's funny. My grandmother was Greek. One of my grandmothers was Greek, and she made incredible Greek food. And
yeah.
a couple of her dishes that I love still today. And before she passed away, one time Lucy wanted to make a Greek meal and have them over, and which is like asking for asking. But anyway, it was really good. We did Greek meatballs, keftedes, I think. Anyway,
yum.
Which were great. We did good on those. And then she made pastitsa, which was my favorite thing that my grandmother made. So it's like a Greek lasagna, but it's made with like elbow macaroni noodles, kind of, but it's layered.
Oh, I don't think I've had that.
It has a bechamel sauce, so the cheese sauce. It's crazy good. And it had a little, I think it has a little bit of cinnamon, so it's weird in the meat sauce. So it has this little bit of a kick that you can't quite figure out what it is, but a little cinnamon. But anyway, so when you make that cheese sauce, you can use a couple different cheeses. There's a less expensive cheese and a more expensive whatever. And of course, I think my wife used the less expensive cheese. And so we had my grandparents over, and my grandmother was like, 5 feet tall on her best day, and eating it, she was tasting it. We're kind of like, well, what do you think? The meatballs were great, and maybe we did some spinach leaves wraps. I can't remember. But then we got to pastitsa, which is my favorite, and I thought it was amazing because I helped Lucy make it. I mean, so much cheese. It's so much insane. And my grandmother tasted it, and I just kind of saw her, and she goes, it's good. It's good. And then she goes, now, did you use this cheese?
No way.
Yeah. And Lucy goes, yeah, I did. She goes, it's good. It's good. We knew. It didn't quite pass her test, but it was so I always remember that. That's funny. It wasn't quite as good as hers, but it was still good. It was still good.
And she probably appreciated that you guys went to all that work.
Absolutely, she did. She did. So let's flip back to QVC for a second. Who do you think the biggest celebrity you've ever met at QVC? Because it's a celebrity haven. I love it.
Oh my gosh.
You've ever met?
Oh, there are some, who I just was surprised at, and that I met and was on several shows with her, because I was on like non-food shows, was Joan Rivers.
Mary.
I thought she was a gem, don't you think?
It's so funny because people ask me all the time, oh, have you met this person? Have you met this person? Or they want to know if they're nice or not. And
Right.
The very first thing out of my mouth, and I've met a lot of celebrities there. The very first thing I say is, I'm going to tell you who one of the nicest is. And it was Joan Rivers. Because Joan, even though, she had her own green room, and a lot of times she had her little dog, and, she always waved. She spoke to everybody. She had a great attitude. She cracked jokes. She was just so approachable and friendly.
Oh.
And because a lot of times they come in and they're busy, and they're they just kind of have blinders on. And Joan walked through the hall, hey, waving, how are you? And I always say, Joan Rivers was just the nicest, big celebrity I've ever met there. It was so nice.
That's funny that both of us thought of her because, and what also, when she stayed at the hotel, Jimmy, because a lot of people, she stayed at the same hotel as us. I mean, she was so, I'll tell you a story about her that a lot of people probably don't know because I happen to just be standing there, where we check in, at guest, services with the folks. She was there checking in, and one of the girls checking her in said, "Oh, Miss Rivers, I love your necklace." And she goes, "Oh, it's one that I just designed, and it's coming out like, I don't know, next month or whatever." She took it off and gave it to her.
Are you kidding?
It gave it to her and said, she goes, and the girl said, "Oh, no, I can't take it, no." And she goes, "Oh, yes, you can. This is a gift from me, and I want you to have it."
Wow.
And I just thought that was like so amazing. And I have to tell you another funny story. I gave her a bag of cookies, and a friend of mine, I think her and her daughter and her grandson had like a reality show. And they said, we were watching it, and there's the bag of Cheryl's cookies sitting on. I was like, no way. So I had to go back and watch it. And sure enough, it was there. Yeah. It was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
But no, she really was. I just remember, I think that, the expectation is, you don't necessarily approach everybody or, let people have their own space. I think,
right.
That's a great thing in general anyway. But she was always waving and saying hello to everybody and good night when she was leaving. And it kind of stuck with me, after all these.
Yeah, me too.
It's really funny that you said that. Who else have you met there?
Oh my gosh. Frankie Avalon, Catherine Zeta-Jones.
I didn't meet her. I met
she's very nice too. She's really nice. What was the guy the exercise guy?
Simmons.
Richard Simmons. Oh my gosh. I remember him coming in and out, there. Let's see, who else was there, Jimmy? There were so many. Oh, the Property Brothers. They're awesome.
Yep.
They're awesome. And stuff.
You can't see this right here, but next to me in my office, I have a big wall of fame, which, by the way, if you're watching this video version of this, you are right here next to my picture of me and you, because you're on my wall of fame.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I remember we took a lot of pictures. You got all of us foodies.
You like to take pictures.
I did.
I take pictures, but I think you take more pictures than anyone, and you always send them and share them, which is great. And then I'm grateful later because we have this picture here of me on your set in the spring. I think it was Easter time, but so it's been on my wall of fame for years now.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
I have to say, as growing up in the 80s and 90s and a teenage boy, probably my favorite one that I met was just 2 Christmases ago, Christy Brinkley. I kind of flipped out, and I usually am very cool and calm and collected, and say hi or get a picture or just whatever, or get introduced to them. And with her, oh my gosh, it was like I was watching these movies that were iconic to me. There she was, and then she talked to me, and so I'm like, I'm going to get a picture with her. I am going to get a picture with Christy Brinkley. And so she's on air. I asked her assistant, would you think she would mind? Because I don't ever want to, get in their way or anything like that. And so, oh my gosh, she would love it. And she was selling Prosecco. And and so I go, and so right as she's coming off set, and I let her assistant kind of lead, and she walked out towards the cameras, and she said, "Oh, this is Jimmy. He's with barbecue, Corky's Barbecue, and he would love to get his picture with you." And so instead of just going, "Okay," she goes, "Come and let me pour you a glass of Prosecco, and we'll cheers." I'm literally like, am I in a dream? It's on my wall right over here. I have a picture of her and I just cheersing with a thing of champagne. And she said, "Is it good?" And I'm gonna, yes, it was amazing. But yeah, so she
That's awesome. I've never had the pleasure of meeting her, but that's awesome.
She was great. She was so nice. She wanted to pour me this certain one that she had on air, and she got me glasses, and she poured herself a glass, and we did cheers, and I'm like, am I in a dream? Me having a glass of champagne with Christy Brinkley. So that was my pinch me moment. But I've met a lot of great people and worked with a lot of awesome people there. So it's been fun. All right, so tell me a funny story about when you were live on air, because it's all live all the time at QVC. So tell me a funny thing that happened when you've been live.
Oh my gosh. We have some good ones. I know we all do. I'll tell you. Oh, okay. I was on with David Venable. Okay, this is, I'm going to laugh. I don't know if you'll think it's funny, but okay. So Carol, our food stylist, she's totally rocking amazing.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Your sets are amazing. Mine is too, Nick DeKircher. I'm not gonna slight Nick. Nick is awesome and he does a great job for me. But Carol for you is just the perfect.
She's great. She's so creative. So I had this idea, and if you give her an idea, she's like, she goes with it, runs with it, comes up with whatever. So we had these cookies, and we had 10 different kinds of cookies, all buttercream frosted. So I had this idea that we should plumb up some, and like a little mountain of cookies. And so we can show like, oh, look at how much buttercream and cookie.
Right.
Well, David and I are on air and we're talking, we're going through, everything. And we're talking, all of a sudden I hear David, the cookies are here, the tower of cookies. Yep. David's here and I'm next to him. All of a sudden I hear David go, oh my God. And the cookies slowly went like this. It went like, it was, and David, he just picks up like where you left off. We were both hysterically laughing that we had to compose. It took us a minute to compose ourselves. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, and then we sold out of the whole, we sold out. I think people were laughing and we're like, oh my gosh, but we're trying to have this visual. And and another time how I used to stir the buttercream all the time.
Yeah, of course.
And I got a pocket in my buttercream.
I'm gonna stop right there. So for people who have never seen Mary or Cheryl's cookies on QVC, Mary sells the most incredible cookies, and Cheryl's they frost the top with this sweet, incredible, buttercream frosting, and it's different colors and shapes and pumpkins and snowmen, all this stuff. And the icing is, it's almost as thick as the cookie. And so, as you can imagine, like if you're making things at home, when you're mixing up that buttercream, in a big bowl. So Mary, when she does her presentations on air, she is mixing a bowl of buttercream that just makes your mouth water. That I don't care if you've had food or not, you're ready for dessert. So, you were mixing a bowl of buttercream.
Okay, and so, a lot of times I would stir my earrings, I do stir in the buttercream, especially if we have all buttercream. And the camera's coming in for this close shot, and you know how close they get to you, like a few inches. And I'm going like this, and I went, and it hit like an air pocket and went all over the camera. I was like, are you kidding me? I don't know what happened. I forget if I assume they couldn't see anything because the buttercream was on the lens. But I was just like, I couldn't say anything. And I think I was on with David then too. Bless his heart.
There's, in live TV, all kind of things happen. So I haven't had a mishap, but I can tell you, I know exactly what I did one time. First of all, I am like a bull in a china shop. So I have to be very cautious. Keep my arms by my side because I talk with my hands, and I'm a big guy, and I'm the guy that goes to shake someone's hand and grabs their other arm and take their wine out of their hand or their beer. It's just, I don't know. That's just how I am. And so, I was selling with David, and, you stand like bizarrely close to someone. You stand really, really close to the host. You can't really tell on TV, but you're in this giant room and you're literally like inches apart. So it's like, you're very, very close. And, I had been selling ribs, and, and I always have a towel to kind of wipe my fingers, but it's, you get sauce on them and whatever. And when we were, I guess, wipe my hands, and right when we were about to end the cell, he went to shake my hand, and my other arm went up to grab his arm like by his shoulder. When I did, I looked and I was like, we both saw it at the same time. I just put a whole handprint of barbecue on his shirt that he had to have the rest of the day, the rest of his time on air that day, marked by me. But
you're trying to get extra airtime, Jimmy Stovall, so we could say, "Oh yeah, this is Corky's barbecue sauce."
Keep mentioning me. Yeah, oh my gosh, that place, we could write a book about the
everybody has so many stories.
Scenes. Yeah. Yes, it's quite funny. So, and then one time when I had met your mom and dad in the green room one time. You brought them to QVC,
right? Yes.
And I met them, and it was so great. And then I know that your mom had passed away, and your dad, and you were kind of, your dad, first of all, was amazing, man.
Thank you.
And then I think y'all were doing stuff with your dad to make sure he stayed active, and then y'all decided to take a road trip to bring your dad, and you came here to Memphis.
Oh my gosh. You know what, Jimmy? That was like the best trip ever, because it was literally the best trip ever. Tom and I, with my dad, we had just lost my mom actually a few months before that, and we wanted to do something with my dad. So I had this idea that we'd come down and we would see you and Lauren in Memphis, and then go on to Nashville, because my dad loved music. He was a really good singer, actually. And so we came down and we had a blast. We toured Corky's, we toured St. Clair's. But the fun part was when, to be honest with you, when we met your family, you have an awesome family. Your kids are awesome. Lucy, your wife, is totally awesome. And you took us to Corky's, and it was, okay, first of all, you're like, okay, we're gonna eat here. And so you're like, oh, we're gonna have, you started out with the appetizer. Okay, wait a minute. It was like this rack of ribs, and you're like, oh yeah. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, wow. We're eating some of it, and we're thinking, yeah, that's the meal. You didn't tell us, first of all, that was the appetizer. Then you bring out like the actual meal, and then dessert. I think we had everything on the menu. My dad thought it was the coolest thing ever. He talked about you for months and months. And then you got us into Graceland.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And you got us the special passes,
right,
as my dad says. And my dad, we thought, oh, we'll be there a couple hours. We were there in the entire day. The entire day. He was listening to Elvis sing. We went through everything. I think he listened to every song that Elvis ever made. He loved you. He loved you and Lucy, and your kids.
I love, again, serving over food. That's
right.
And it's a memory that you now have of your dad, that when he came to Memphis, y'all came to Corky's, and yeah, I want if someone's coming in town and you're a friend of mine, I want to show you, what we do. I'm going to load you up. And I think now looking back, I don't remember everything I put out there, but I'm assuming that I must have put a lot out there.
Let's put it this way. We rolled out of Corky's. We didn't walk out, we rolled out.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's customers when they leave, they're like, you have a wheelbarrow to get me at it?
It is. And the two gentlemen that were your owners, that I got to meet them, they were awesome. I mean, your whole staff was awesome. They were like so accommodating, and they kept bringing more food, and we're looking around like, are more people going to join us? I mean,
no, we love it. It's all about, I've grown up in the restaurant business. I've been with Corky's 26 years, 27 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
And you're in the food with cookies, and it makes people smile, people enjoy it. And there's nothing better than giving the gift of food to somebody, who maybe is not in that business or whatever. It connects people, and you create great memories. I love it. So let me ask you now that we're on that subject. So who inspires you, or who's your hero?
I have to say this, you mean professionally or personally?
Either way, either way.
Personally, I have to say my parents, because they were married for 60 years and going through their life and just everything we all go through. They all did everything, ups, downs, in between together, and they were a good example, not only for their marriage, but spiritually, how they brought up as kids, and they were all about like family. Yeah. And getting together was really important to them. And I know how important it is to me. And I've shared that with you over the years. We've talked about our families. So I say my parents. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love talking to your dad. He was fascinating. And I think that maybe it's similar to me, where my parents both, and they both still work. They've always loved their jobs. Like, I don't care what they were doing. They loved what they were doing. So I've always loved what I'm doing, because I don't know any other way. That's how they always were. My sister's actually the same way. And the other thing is my mom, both of my parents, I'm gonna say my mom, but really both my parents, they always told me that I could do anything. Like, and I don't mean just like in a casual cliche way, like they really believed that I could do anything I wanted to. And so that kind of sticks in the back of my head. I don't ever have that, oh, I don't think I could do that. I'm maybe not that. They always told me that. And fortunately, I believed them.
I know. Well, you know what though? I bet you find that with your kids too. I mean, I find that with my kids, don't you? That you like,
Yeah,
you believe that, and you want to tell them that, you want to encourage them to do their thing and be happy.
Yeah, because I love what I get to do, and I'm so fortunate. And I used to say I'm lucky. I still think I've had luck. But I said that one time to somebody. I said, they were asking me how I got here, what I get to do, and I said, oh, I'm lucky. He looked at me, and he's a big business owner and very successful. He looked at me and he goes, don't ever say that again. You're not lucky. You've worked hard for every single thing that you have and what you've accomplished. And I was like, wow. I mean, he kind of took me by surprise. But I think that part of it is right. It's not all just luck. I think that you get into lucky situations because of the way you've worked and working hard.
Right.
Positioning yourself into those situations. But
yeah, and how you treat people too, along the way, and the friendships and the relationships. I mean, I think that's what it's all about anyway, is the relationships, the friendships, and how you treat people. And that's how, a lot of times you'll get it back, because you want to be treated how, they treated you. Yeah, exactly.
Dad, I know he was in sales, right? And he was a relationship guy. And
my dad,
that definitely went down to you. And I think you took that and multiplied it times 10.
Yeah, he was big on relationships. I mean, when he was selling, I mean, he became friends with people. I mean, he knew some famous people too, like Ted Williams, Sir Edmund Hillary. I mean, he got to meet a lot of people that became friends of his,
Right. I mean, that, to me, that's inspiring. That hearing stories like that, it's great. And I did love meeting him. And even though I did meet him at QVC one time just for a few minutes. And then when y'all came to my house, I think it was kind of crazy when you came to my house. My kids were in and out and school, and yeah, that's great. Definitely, both of them definitely passed the best parts down to you. And yeah, definitely. So let me ask you, what do you think the best compliment you've ever received is?
Oh gosh. I've been told by my boys that I'm a good mom.
I'm sure.
And that it was a good example.
That's really,
Yeah, I think from my family and stuff and friends that, that
yeah,
I'm there for them, which I want to be, and so, I take it, yeah,
that's nice. I've got
yeah,
mom and being there for friends. That's
yeah, and family, yeah.
yeah, yeah. What about your bucket list? You've done a lot, Mary. And I know you and Tom have traveled some. Is there any place that you want to go or do, or anything you want to do that you haven't done?
Well, we want to start traveling again, which nobody's traveled for a while. But yeah, we want to go to Germany and Switzerland. We haven't been there.
Yeah,
And Ireland. Uh, we want to go on more vacations with our kids and grandkids because we have a blast when we go on with them. It's a different kind of vacation when you go with,
yeah,
just not yourselves and go with the grandkids, and they're hilarious. And now that they want to go with you as they get older, they might not want to, they do their own thing.
that's right. Yeah, I think now
Yeah.
and my kids are older, and now they're wanting to go with us now. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, we're actually taking them in a few weeks, but
Well,
uh,
that's cool. I
yeah.
hope someplace fun.
Yeah, down to St. Thomas. It's still in the US. We can still, we can go there. So we're going to take
Oh,
some
cool.
friends of ours who we've traveled down there with for, many times. And they're taking their kids who are my sons
Oh,
and then my daughter. And yeah, so we will be down there for a week and it'll be nice because I haven't been anywhere. And Mary, I'm sure it's very similar to you. I have traveled for 20 years to QVC, and I sometimes some years could be on 200 flights a year, back and forth, back and forth. And I have not been on an airplane since last February. And it's unbelievable to me because it was just part of my routine. I got up, went and got an early flight, flew to QVC, did a show, sometimes fly home the same day, and a 20-hour day, or I would spend the night and y'all would try to get me to go to dinner, and I would say,
that's right.
or I would say, no, I'm going to eat at the bar.
And then we show up at the bar and you still be there and wait for us and have a drink.
That's right. Just go out with us sometimes. I'm like, nah, I'm just going to. So, all right, let's move on to the dessert round. I call it short and sweet
Oh.
because we do rapid fire. And normally, because I always serve all the food, and like you said, bring dessert. But I couldn't give you dessert. I did ask you, hey Mary, what if I haven't seen you in a while? You sent me some cookies, some Cheryl's cookies, and that's what we had for dessert. And so I mean, and in true fashion, and everyone that knows you, this is a tiny, tiny sampling of what you said. But your cookies, the Cheryl's cookies are amazing. I mean, I think shortbread cookies, they're soft. They have amazing buttercream frosting on top. That's as much, if you like sweets, I mean, it's as big as the cookie. And I mean, all different. I mean, I don't know if you're watching it, you can see, but all different designs and shapes and flavors, unbelievable flavors. Of course, you sent me the brownies, which I did take home the other day. So stop sending those to me. And they're so good. And then some cake slices. But yeah, I'm going to tell you my favorite cookie, and then you kind of tell me what your favorites are and if there's any new ones coming. But I love the frosted. I like the the buttercream frosted ones. But I also love the blueberry. It's like a blueberry, and it has kind of like, I don't know, almost like granulated sugar. It's like a blueberry muffin, but in a cookie. It's amazing.
Exactly.
And my other favorite that y'all have is I I don't know if it's the salted. Is it this like this?
Oh, salted caramel.
Oh my gosh! But it's almost like toffee, kind of.
Yeah.
It has a crunch and then that salt on the top and the cookie. Mary,
Yeah.
they're dangerous because they're like individually packaged, and I'm like, oh, now I have a whole trash can full of wrappers that I've picked out. But so I'm
Oh,
loving the cookies. Now tell me, oh, and the peaches. I gotta stop.
I know. Well, I
peach
sent the
green
peach
one.
one to you
Oh,
and
yeah.
blueberry because I knew blueberry was your favorite.
Love it.
And my favorite actually is Devil's Food. Blueberry and Devil's Food
Really?
are two of my favorite cookies, and one's frosted and one happens to not be frosted. The
Yeah.
blueberry one that you know what I like about our cookies,
Yeah.
Jimmy? Cheryl's, they put like in your blueberry cookie, there's so it's just not the normal, oh, let's throw some ingredients in there,
Yeah. I mean, there's real, I mean, you can see them, you can taste them. And when you bite into it, you get that great pop of that blueberry. It's like it squishes and and you taste it's not just a flavor. It's, I mean, it's phenomenal. What about you have any new flavors? I know you're always working on new flavors, and so you got any new flavors that are coming? Or
We do. I can't reveal them yet, but we do have, I know it's a big surprise, but we do have some new ones coming for Christmas in July on QVC and some other yummy ones. Let's put it this way, there might be a couple cookies and some yummy filling in the middle. I'm just saying.
Oh my God.
They're good. We have a really awesome chef, actually. She's a food scientist too, and so she's come up with some pretty amazing
and
flavors coming out.
The flavors are they're truly amazing, and it's I couldn't think of somebody more perfect to sell cookies on TV than you. You're just
Thank you.
so sweet, just like the cookies, and it's you actually love to give the cookies to people and enjoy that gift giving part of it, where you see the happiness when they eat them and how they give them out to different people and whatever. So I love that part about it. But let me ask you this before we get to the rapid fire. So or knew Cheryl, right? Of Cheryl's Cookies?
Correct. Yes.
And so were y'all friends?
Yeah, we were. And then she retired a while back. Cheryl's has been around like for 40 years. So we've done a lot of cookies and brownies and cake slices and what have you. So
how did she start that? How did she start the business?
She started that in her apartment when she was in college.
See, you were cutting hair and
I know.
Cookies.
Hey,
never worked.
Now all my QVC friends are going to know that, Jimmy. So,
and I'm glad I know, because sometimes, I get my hair gets long and I might need a trim before I go on, Mary.
I know when we hang out, I'll bring my shears with me in case you need a trim.
I love it. I'm going to come down to the salon and I'm going to go, Mary, are you cutting hair today?
Oh gosh.
All right. I'm going to hit you with some rapid fire questions. Just kind of throw out the first thing that pops in your head.
Okay.
You have a favorite quote?
Live each day to the fullest.
See?
I like that one.
I love that. I think you do that. Don't you?
Yeah, I try to. Yes, I think that's important.
Yeah. So you kind of answered this, but the favorite cookie, if you had to pick one, would it be which one?
I think I'll go with the blueberry / Devil's Food.
That's so you, Mary. Like, I know you had to pick one, but I think I'll pick two. Put a slash there. Do you have one thing that you've kept since childhood that you still have?
I do. My original Barbie doll. The original Barbie doll. I have it. She has no clothes, but I have the original one.
Do you really?
I do. Because my dad was also he changed different areas. And so he was a buyer nationally for Sears in toys.
Oh my
God. We got the first Barbie doll. Yeah.
Y'all probably had the best toys. That's the place you got toys. It was
I know. We had good Christmases when he was selling buyer for toys.
I would say so.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Wow. I mean,
I know.
I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure that's where every toy I ever got was from.
I know. Is that funny, Jimmy? Is
Really?
that funny, really, when you think about it? I
Yeah,
mean, it's so,
yeah,
yeah.
it
So,
really is.
yeah.
Um, is there anything else that you'd like to accomplish that you haven't accomplished? You've done a lot.
Um, I don't know. I'd like to, I think Tom and I, as we get older, I mean, I like to travel more, and we're going to do that this next year in between QVC shows and errands and everything. But yeah, I think traveling more and, just hanging out more. We really enjoy each other. And I really like during this COVID, I'm sure you were like that too. I made it like I don't want to say my mission, but my thing was during COVID was, just really reaching out to people that I knew were just maybe by themselves
Yeah.
or isolate and just calling and talking. So connection, with your friends. I mean, time goes so fast. I mean, look at how long it's been since we've seen each other, but it seems like yesterday. So yeah, so
That's nice. And of course, it doesn't surprise me whatsoever that you want to continue doing things for other people, because I think that's what makes you tick, and that's what makes you thrive. And so you reaching out to make that happen, I think is great. It does just as much good for the people that you reach out to than it does with you as well, for yourself. What's your favorite vacation spot?
oh, Italy, and I loved Marco Island.
Marco Island. I've never been there. Italy.
Oh yeah, Italy. I love Italy. Marco Island is gorgeous. If you want to go there on the beach, the beaches are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, we loved it.
Favorite gift you've ever given or received, besides your Barbie with no clothes?
Yeah, my Barbie with no clothes. Let's see. Oh, I have a bracelet that my husband gave me, and there's 9 little hearts, that represent all my grandkids. And he got that for me when I retired the first time.
Yeah, and you couldn't stay away from the cookies.
Yeah, I know. So I came back.
That's nice. Is there and we talked about a quote, but is there a value that you kind of live by, that you could, that's important to you, a personal value?
I know it's an old cliche, but I think for me, I do try to treat people the way I want to be treated. I guess that is how and to be honest and upfront and, set a good example for my kids and my grandkids.
Don't you think that you kind of have to be intentional to do that? I feel like that's how you are. Like, you think about it to make sure that you're treating people the way you want to be treated. I know you, and it of course it comes natural also, but I think that sometimes even the people who are the best at it, you still have to make it a priority and be intentional about it. Don't you think?
Oh, I think so. I mean, and you don't realize that what you do, you'll do or say something and you don't realize that someone, they'll remember that or, about you, or they'll be like, oh yeah, you said this, or I saw you do this. So yeah, I think you do have to be intentional. I totally agree with you on that. Yeah.
I mean, as we kind of wrap up here, I can only tell you that when I sent out those few texts and said, hey, I'm having Mary Eckenrode on my podcast, give me a quote or give me a line, it didn't take people 10 seconds to write back those things that I read out in the beginning. It wasn't like it was 3 weeks ago and they had a due date and they wanted to write the perfect. That is literally the first thing that popped into their mind. And they wrote it with, I'm telling you, without even having to think about it. And to hear all those great things, read, or, that people think about you, I couldn't wait to tell you. I really couldn't, because it's the first thing that popped into their mind. And I think you're accomplishing exactly what you want to do with the value that you want to live by. So
Oh, thanks, Jimmy.
one loves you, Mary.
Oh, I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you, Jimmy.
Right, so let me ask you this. So where can we find you? Website at Cheryl's.com?
Yeah, Cheryl's.com. And then Mary the Fun Baker on Instagram.
Mary the Fun Baker. Mary Fun Baker.
Yeah, Mary the Fun Baker. And
okay.
Then Mary Eckenrode on Facebook.
Yes.
Or Mary Eckenrode for QVC. I'm like all over the place.
I know, but y'all can follow Mary. She's so much fun. She only posts good stuff. And she's great. So do you know when your next airing is at QVC?
Actually, I do. I have 2 next week, and Gourmet Holiday, May 18th and May 19th.
I'm on the 19th.
I think. Are you? Oh, yeah, good. I'm on the 19th. What do you have?
Mary, I don't,
Jimmy,
I don't know yet. I mean,
you need to know what you have.
I have a brand new item. New item.
Oh, I'm excited.
I don't have to keep secrets like your cookie flavors. So it is, it's a barbecue burnt ends, and oh my God, they're incredible, and you cook it right in the tray. Anyway, they're amazing.
I'm going to have to get those now, right?
Yeah, you're going to. Mary, they're really good.
You know what? I have to tell you something funny on your text. You go something, and then you ended it. Oh, my lands.
Yes.
Well,
same.
No, that's my thing. I started laughing. I'm like, oh, he remembered.
Of course I remember. Of course I remember. In fact, that's what you say, Mary. We just the cookie lady. Anything, she'll go, oh, my lands. And we're like, that's her phrase. That's what she said. I love it.
Oh.
All right, Mary. So let me tell you this. This is how I kind of wrap up every episode. First of all, thank you so much for joining me, enjoying a meal, sharing dessert with me, your incredible cookies. And I hope that someone comes and gets them out of my office before I eat them all. And so this is what I want all our listeners to know. So I hope you enjoyed your meal and had fun and enjoyed our conversation. I know I did. And my hope is to inspire everyone listening to call up an old friend or someone they want to get to know better, invite them to a meal, and have a great conversation. So thank you, Mary.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Love ya.
I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.